Hello there and welcome to Full Chat with me, David Prutton.
And me, Iwan Thomas, celebrating all things we love about being on two wheels. Now, Full Chat is powered by Bikesure. As the UK's largest independent motorcycle insurance broker, Bikesure will tailor a quote to your exact needs, helping you save money on your annual bike, scooter and moped insurance.
Don't forget to press subscribe on YouTube so that you never miss an episode, or you can press the follow button on Apple or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Now, today's guest is an absolute legend. It's a proper rock star. Now, we normally pretend we're rock stars and we have guests who are quite cool, but today's guest is a real-life rock star. He's a lovely bloke, handsome, kind, and also previously the king of the jungle. It is, of course, from McFly, Dougie Poynter, or McFly Dougie, as we know him as. Morning, Dougie.
Hi. Wow, thank you. I don't think I've ever had an intro quite like that before. Thank you.
Well, I've not finished yet because, Prutz, it's my turn this week to do a bit of fanboying, right? You might not know this, right? But I met the McFly boys many, many years ago, recording an ITV show where basically they had to train and do an indoor athletics race, right? And to Harry's disgust, he lost because Danny won it and Harry's the runner. And genuinely, a lovely bunch of blokes, right? Kept in contact over the years. I've seen them in concert a couple of times. Their tour manager, I think it's Tommy, a really nice guy. So years later, I start seeing this girl, right? And I'm seeing a girl and I think, yeah, she's all right, but it's not, how do I put it politely? It's not progressing as quick as I wanted this relationship. And then I see McFly playing in Portsmouth at the Guildhall. So I call up the tour manager. I said, look, any chance of like a ticket? And also, can I come backstage so she can meet the boys? And I thought, she'd love all that. So he said, yeah, come along tonight, no problem. My neighbour gets wind of the fact I'm doing this. And she goes, oh, you're going to see McFly. Can you take my teenage kids as well? I'm like, what? So no, we go to watch McFly, right? We go backstage. She meets the boys. And fast forward a few more years, she is now the mother of my 3 children. So thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly, I owe you boys.
You are very welcome. It's just what we do,
It is what you do. You make things happen, and I think that night it did happen. So thanks very much. And also, you won't. He never publicly said this, and Dougie won't know this story. But when my middle child was born,
I didn't think he knew that story. To be brutally honest,
he was nothing to do with that child. Just to clarify, but he was going to be called Albert, right? All the time, yeah, he's going to be called Albert. He came out, and I was like, he don't look like an Albert. What does he look like? What name? And genuinely, he looked like a proper cool dude, right? And I only know 2 Dougies in the world. This Dougie and my mate who's 6'5", black and built like a barn door athlete who's spiritually and morally a very nice man. So we called him Dougie. We changed our name.
No way.
Yeah, so my middle boy's called Dougie, and it's thanks to you as well. And he is a bit of a dude. So there you go. I've done my fanboying. You got me together with my missus. It's your fault I've got 3 children, and one of them's named after you. So there we go.
Wow, I'm honoured. I don't think I've ever, because my name's kind of unusual. Usually it's, we meet a lot of Harrys that have been named after Harry Judd, or they say Harry Judd, but I reckon it's Harry Styles. And Tom is obviously a pretty common name, and Danny as well. So I'm honoured. I don't think I've never heard that before. So I've had an amazing introduction, and you've named one of your kids after me. So I'm pretty stoked.
And that's a true story. Yeah, it's all down there. That's a true story. And I don't know any other Dougies. I've never met other Dougies. So there you go.
Well, Dougie Lampkin, have you met him?
Yeah, we've not had him on here. I haven't met him. I'm a big fan of his, but he's not rock and roll like you, is he? My middle boy's got the long blonde hair, top knot. He's a proper rocker. Yeah,
cool.
So he's a Dougie through and through. But anyway, that's my fanboy. Normally it's Prutz who goes like, "Oh, I met your auntie outside a shop and she got you to sign." We had Charlie Boardman on the other day, and literally Prutz came off air, and I think he had to check his seat. You were a bit excited, weren't you, mate?
Hey, that's not to say that having Dougie on doesn't make me excited as well. But I mean, that Gale Force introduction that you've done, mate, I think Dougie's dealt with that very, very well. It's just an absolute tidal wave of love, which is lovely. And obviously, you've got a lot to be responsible for in Ewan's life. But you mentioned the boys there as well. And there is the element of what the youthful energy of what McFly is. But we're talking about a band that's been going for 2 decades, aren't we? I mean, has that flown by for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it depends, what, specifically we're talking about within a conversation. But sometimes it feels like we're still just at the beginning of our career. like when we released our second album or the third one or whatever, or when that single came out. But then when we meet a kid who's 20, and you're like, oh right, so you weren't even around when our first album came out, and you've had this entire life in between, and you're now a man. That weirds me out, and then I do feel kind of. I never feel old, but it just weirds me out, like how long I've been doing.
It's generational now, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we're honored to be like have stuck around for that long. And things are usually moving so fast that you don't really get time to take stock and be like, oh wow, yeah, it's a huge achievement to 2 decades. And I remember at the beginning of our career, people put a shelf life of like 5 to 6 years on us. Which was like, we always thought that was mad, because we were like, well, we're going to do this for the rest of our lives. It was never a 1 or 2 album thing for us. We were just, this is what we wanted to do, and we were just going to continue to do it until I guess it wasn't possible anymore. But people still come to the shows, and the music industry's changed a lot. So like everything's moved to downloads now, but our ticket sales are still great. And we actually feel like we're a better band now than we were. Obviously when we first started, and I think we enjoy it a lot more now than we did back then.
Well, Dougie, do you think within that as well, given it's almost like you say from the outset, where your band was kind of bracketed is of when the kind of initial attention or the novelty of it wears off, but from your point of view, it's a vocation, your career musician. So in your mind, why wouldn't we keep going? It's something that we love,
Yeah.
we know really well, and as you say, given what it is to be from the outside looking in, what a long career is varied. It's kind of got its tangents, it's got its little side streets, hasn't it? But fundamentally, you're getting better. You're loving the career more than ever. So I bet in your mind, you're like, well, no, 5 or 6 years. No. This is us. This is us together forever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but we honestly do. We do love it more now. I think because we're better at it, or like just matured. And we've obviously got like the live aspect of McFly has always been the most important part. So like now having like 20 years worth of songs to create a set list of. I mean, we played the O2 in November as part of the 21st anniversary, and we did almost 3 hours, I think. And that to us is like a massive achievement. We're like, right, we finally got the right amount of songs to create a set list like that's that long, like kind of Springsteen style long, and it still have the the ups and downs in it, and good enough enough to hold people's attention for
the show
that long.
Yeah.
I think saying that on the the first night we did 2 nights there. The first night we were getting really close to curfew, and it's the first time I've ever seen people leaving before the end of the show.
No. It's like it's like when you play for Southampton. Everyone leaves early, don't they? I'm joking. It's credit to you guys, though, I think, the longevity in terms of your music's good at the end of the day, and you've reinvented yourself, McBusted, and other side angles you've done. But what's it like when you go to, perform somewhere and you might meet someone backstage and they say, yeah, meet my daughter. She's now a fan of yours as well, because you must have generations in terms of, I know it's only been 20 years, but you must have women who come to watch you, who watched you as 20-year-olds, who are now 40-year-olds, bringing along their 20-year-olds. And it just carries on. And, you're getting introduced to different audiences all the time. But I think it's a credit because your music's good. If you weren't good, you wouldn't still be around. It's as simple as that.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, the shows have now, they started off when we were obviously younger. I was 15 when we started, and the audience was around, they were really either my age or younger. Whereas and we'd gotten like used to that, like it was predominantly young females, and now like you said, it seems like it's kind of everybody. There's dudes there with beards, like drinking and having fun with their friends. There's a group of teenagers that are like trying to mosh to our songs, and then there's like people that have been there since day one, and then they've brought their like really tiny little kids along that are singing along to every word, and I think that might be why we enjoy it more now as well, because it feels like you're reaching everybody. It's not just one demographic. You're like, oh right, yeah, like the kids get it. They're jumping up and down to that song that I wrote specifically to jump around in your bedroom, like doing air guitar to and stuff.
That what you're saying there, and what I really do love about yourself and all the boys is, and this is the other bit about when you buy into people, that whatever you're doing, you look like you're having fun, and that transmits, whether it's on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, whether that's on telly, and whether more recently and more relevantly, given the fact that we're talking to you on here today, motorcycling. You look like you've just jumped off the deep end, thrown yourself into it. You love everything about it. And we speak to kind of grizzled old veterans on here, don't we, Ewan? And we speak to people from a broad spectrum. But you're one of the first people to come on that's almost a bit of a newbie to it anyway. And it's just wonderful to see the kind of the love for it, and the kind of look, the brass tacks of taking your test and you see all that type of thing. And another thing that you look at when you do it on your socials and talk about it, it just beams out your face. You must be loving this little kind of pivot that you've taken onto two wheels.
Oh, it's been. I feel like a bit of a. I have like a imposter syndrome massively with it, but I can't help but it's become. It's like kind of taken over my life a bit. That I'm so annoyed that I didn't do it a long time ago. I had the opportunity to get a bike and do my CBT and all of that in like 2010 or something, and I didn't do it because of the amount of tests that you have to do, and I was like, no. And my one of my uncles had a really bad motorcycle accident, and I was like, oh no, I can't do that. That's not for me. But it was always in the back of my mind. I'd see bikes out on the road and online, and see people going on these epic rides, and it was always in the back of my mind to do it. And then we were approached, or Danny approached Motorcycles from Birmingham.
Love those bikes,
and because they do 125s and 250s, like entry level bikes that look cool, and they offered to like do a partnership with them, and we could go up to Birmingham, spend a couple of days, and learn like privately, like kind of one-on-one with these instructors, and we thought that sounded awesome. And to be honest, I hated my CBT so much that like because I got shot with a paintball gun during my doing my CBT on the out on the road
in Birmingham.
It was weird. Yeah.
You got shot. Explain that.
It was the weirdest thing. I was the second part of the CBT, when you've done the car park and then they're like, right, now we go out onto the road.
Yeah.
And I was like absolutely terrified. I drive an automatic car, so going back to gears, I was like all over the place. So like my heart is beating out my chest. I'm like, there's like buses going past and stuff. I'm like, wow. And I stalled on a junction, traffic lights, because it was slightly uphill, and I stalled or it hit the kill switch or something, and like panicked, didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, waved my hand. I'm like, I think there's something up with the bike. I pulled it over to the side, onto a pathway next to a park, and this guy comes up to me first of all in a like a I think it was like a white van or something, and screams at me to get out of the way. And so I move the bike more, and he then drives in front of me and starts doing like donuts in the kids' park, which was hella confusing. So I'm standing there like watching that, going like, are the police gonna come sort this out? I'm watching some like proper Grand Theft Auto stuff here. And whilst I'm stood there like that, going like, what the hell? someone else drives past, and it was very obviously a paintball gun, and shoots me in the chest with a paintball
What the
gun.
hell? Welcome to the world of motorcycling.
All in the space of about like 30 seconds. So I had like such a bad time doing that part of my CBT. I was thinking, I'm not going to do this. Like, this is terrifying. But the morning afterwards, I woke up and it was all I could think about was getting back out on a bike. I was just absolutely obsessed and have been ever since. And that was only in the summer of 24. And I've been out. I go out most weekends, and before that was using the bike to commute. And I've only got one more test to do, the Mod 2, and then I'm free.
Do you know what? I was going to moan about I skidded on some leaves when I took my test. I never got shot at, and I was doing it in Peterborough, and I think you're going to get shot anywhere. That is crazy.
If you're a new listener thinking about doing your CBT, this isn't standard CBT procedure.
Don't get put
someone
off.
doing donuts. You've got to dodge someone with a paintball gun. That is, I mean, Dougie, I'm intrigued to think that if you're stood in the middle of that, you're thinking, is this some kind of elaborate kind of gotcha game? TV broke out. You're going, the boy's about to jump up from behind a hedge, going, whoa.
Yeah, it did feel.
Imagine that's part of the test. It's like, bloody hell, it's hard to pass nowadays. They get you ready for any circumstance. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's some proper hardcore training. Yeah,
I think it's credit though. Once again, Dougie, it's credit that you obviously love it, and you clearly do. Like Pratt said, you can see on your social media when you're out riding, you love it. You weren't put off by that. You carried on, and I love the fact that you have come into biking relatively late, and I think that's a great advert for anyone. It's never too late. And you said you wish you'd done it years ago. There's lots of things I live with regret. I wish I'd done years ago, but at least you've come to the world of two wheels and you're enjoying it. And I think you boys are a great advert of riding responsibly. Well, obviously you put that on your social media anyway, but like Pratt said earlier, you look like you're enjoying it. And I think that is what biking is all about. Getting out there, putting the visor down, you escape from the real world. You're a very well-known face, so I'm sure that's a lovely thing to be able to go on a bike. I mean, imagine the guy who paintball shot you. Thought if he knew he'd shot someone from McFly, that's an extra bonus point for him. But it's nice, isn't it, to put the helmet on and disappear from the world and be in your own little world.
Yeah. Oh, especially that day as well, because I looked like a dinner lady with the high-vis jacket on and stuff. There was no way he was recognizing me or Danny that day.
Dinner lady.
But yeah, it's I had no idea I was gonna enjoy it that much. Like even just commuting to our studio is about 20 minutes from here for me, and even that like commute I absolutely love. I'm like, oh, that corner's coming up, cool. Or this bit's a 40-mile-an-hour, sweet. It's awesome. Yesterday I had probably the best ride I've ever done because of I don't know what the weather was like for you guys, but
it was nice.
It felt like spring yesterday.
Yeah, fresh guys, wasn't it?
And we tried doing it was me and my mate Dave, who's McFly's videographer. We tried doing some green laning, but failed miserably.
Not on your mutt bike. Not on your mutt bike. No.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Of course you failed.
Yeah. It was all over the place, and there was a lot of really deep puddles, which just looked like little mini lakes. So yeah, we gave up on green laning. But yeah, I mean, every time we meet up, we're planning for this year. Once I've passed and once it gets a little bit warmer, we're planning all of our trips. Danny's into the like camping side of things as well. Any excuse to go and buy like some brand new Yeti stuff. Yeah, we've been like planning our trips. We already want to ride to like Morocco and stuff.
Oh, nice.
I've got my dream bike. As someone who has only ridden my 125 and the 650 that I do I did my Mod 1 on. So like just based on aesthetics and heritage is the Triumph Bonnevilles.
I knew it. I knew you'd say Triumph. I just had you're talking to a Triumph. Yeah, and the Pratt's love. Yeah, wicked bikes. Yeah. It's you as well. Yeah, they're cool.
Oh, great. So I really really love, and the older the better with Bonneville's, but so that they're the ones that I obsess over, that I search online at like cool custom versions, and have learned about the history of them and everything. But I like the safety of the brand new ones.
Yes, absolutely.
Like liquid cooled and traction control and all of that.
Proper brake.
And the brakes and the reliability of them and stuff. So it was kind of like by accident that I got talking to, because I was about to buy a brand new Bonneville, and so I was talking to Triumph, and they asked if I was interested, because I was talking about doing some customization to make it look older than it was. They asked if I'd be interested in entering this competition that will be, we have to submit the sketch this month, I think, and then there's various different stages throughout the year, but by this time next year the competition would happen. And the whole concept is making a brand new bike look as old as possible. So all the inspiration from the 60s, well, it's like 59 I think was the first Bonneville, and then so from the first one and through the 60s, a bit of the 70s. So yeah, we're building that. I have no idea how that's going to ride. I don't think I'll be doing any green lanes on that bike.
Please don't take that on a green lane.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I'm an expert at making things look older. Oh no, perhaps myself. Dougie, I've got a bike and it's so uncomfortable. The brakes are rubbish, but it looks cool. And to me, biking is about giving you that feeling. It's hard to explain what it's like to a non-biker, but it doesn't have to be the fastest bike. It doesn't have to be the best. It has to be your bike. And I think something that shows your personality in whatever you design, it's going to be for you. And I think that's brilliant to have that individuality of something you aspire to own, but then you can make it your own as well, changing it up. I mean, that's awesome. That's what I've done with my bike. I've got a Harley, which nothing's standard on. It's been chopped to hell, and it looks bad boy. It's just it's so unpractical, but it looks wicked. And I think that's what biking's about: getting something that, you feel safe on. Yes, you can trust it, but it's a bit of your personality.
Yeah, I was talking to Charlie Borman last year. I was having a similar. This was before the Triumph thing was happening, and I was like obsessing about like, oh well, if I do that, well then I won't be able to do a green lane, and if I do that, like it won't be comfortable for very long. And he was just like, well, the cool thing about bikes is you just get another one, because compared to cars, like they're a bit more affordable, so you just get one for everything.
It makes total sense. That high-end car collection is a vast undertaking, as you say, with the high-end motorcycles. It's a slightly different one. The music one as well, that fits in with what you're saying there, Dougie, with the Bonnevilles. It's a Bob Dylan bike, isn't it? A Bonnie. That's the image that I've got in my head. Him with the glasses on, the wild hair, going through Woodstock, looking the absolute business.
Yeah, that was a T100, right? That he had in the
very cool.
That was the one that he had in the movie, and then he had his accident on the Tiger, I think.
Mm-hmm. There's the heritage of it, and Triumph as well. I mean, you were mentioning it. I've owned several Bonnevilles. I've got a Bonneville Bobber at the moment, which again is
nice.
You could class it as quite impractical, but it's mine. So mine will be 7 or 8 years old now. But as you say, what they do year on year, kind of month on month, with the ability to make good-looking bikes, customizable, but also, as you say, safety features. There's nothing kind of takes the fun out of biking more than being stood by a motorway side with oil dripping down. You're looking down going, got no idea what's wrong with this.
Right, yeah.
So you do right to keep it new, mate.
I'm still going to take some lessons on like basic mechanics and stuff, so I know I like knowing how the thing is working, so if something is to go wrong, that I can sort it out and aren't just stranded. And I feel like that's the responsible thing to do.
Do you know what? I wish I could tinker a bit better. I had a Ducati 1098, right? And Prutz will know where this is, but it broke down in Southampton right outside, like in the main town centre by a war memorial, right? And I had the full leather, full kit. Right? I had everything on, and it was a hot day, and it broke. And I didn't know what to do, and I just parked up and stood by it, took my helmet off, and the amount of people who walked past, and that's
Let's
how I
go
think,
in.
what a wanker. Do you know what I mean? Just thought I stood there like, oh, hi everyone, I'm going to stand there for an hour and a half waiting for the AA to turn up, look at my brand new bike, aren't I cool? It was a nightmare.
Right, so gang, a quick bit of mid-show housekeeping. If you haven't already, please press subscribe on YouTube so that you never miss an episode, or press the follow button on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from. That key question that you just said there, Dougie, about being able to look after your bike, and also the perception of you and the lads in the band as bikers. We talk to people about maybe being recognised, and you take your helmet off and you're at the petrol station, but that kind of the ability to see you in that gear and then place you, that's the bit that fascinates me, because you would be sat in your car in the petrol station, wouldn't you, Ewan, and go, that's King of the Jungle, and then, oh, there's another King of the Jungle.
but you know what though, Prot? I think it actually really suits the band, like in terms of
really suits the band, doesn't it?
Rock
really
band, really cool. I expect you to turn up backstage on a motorbike. You know, I expect your roadies and that to bring all the kit. I almost do. I expect you to whip off your helmet, get your bandana on, and go straight on stage. I mean, it's the right image.
But yeah, yeah, not at the moment though with the L plates. Like that's the killer. It doesn't matter. Like me and Danny were joking about it the other day. We'd both bought some like winter gear, and we were like really like obsessing about trying to still make the gear like look cool.
Yeah.
And then we both sat on our bikes with the L plates, and we're like, there's no point. There's we still look like we're just delivering parcels.
I like the dinner lady shout that you said from before. I was sat there looking like a dinner lady with my high vis on.
Oh.
There was pictures that I'd seen because I think Tom Hardy, the actor, he's only a very recent kind of big powered motorcycle convert. I mean, within the last 5 or 10 years, and there was pictures I'd seen online or in a magazine of him. You mean like you've got Mad Max there on this bike with a little L plate, which we've all been there, mate. It will make the most badass person look like a dinner lady. But mate, once they're gone, they're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah. I feel like I'm ready. I'm not into speed at all, really, but I like even being on the 650 for the test. I was like, oh, this felt safer because I can pull away. Just having that power, I can get up to speed quicker. I liked I liked how heavy it was. I didn't think I'd enjoy being on that 650 because it was a Honda, and the position was like way different to the Mutt. But I absolutely loved it, and I actually felt safer on it. Because I'm just all about cruising. I like it's like what I used to like doing with my skateboard. I used to have a cruiser type skateboard that in the summer would just like kind of go around the park, and you're not going very fast. You're literally just feeling the wind on your face, and just enjoying being out. Like nothing mad is happening. You can your mind can kind of go off elsewhere, and it doesn't really like matter. And that's what I like kind of doing on the bike, just going out and zoning out.
I was going to ask you, I think you've said it. I was going to ask you if you could sum up what is special about being on a bike. What feeling does it give you? I think you just said it. But so to someone who might be watching or listening to this who doesn't ride bikes, if you could, what is it for you? And I know you're new to it, but what is it for you that is so magical about riding a bike?
I wish I could sum it up in a very like short but eloquent way. I've been obsessed with nature like my entire life, and now because of motorcycling, I've been outside more than ever. Even in the winter, like usually in the winter I stay indoors and wait for spring. I pretty much hibernate. But yeah, yesterday it was freezing cold still, but the sun was out and I was out all day. And we're like, going through like rolling hills and just like grinning the whole way around, and there's deer and rabbits, and can smell spring kind of like really trying to like push through, and it just makes me a much happier person, because it becomes this like really important thing that isn't important, like it's up there now with music, but because music's my job, there's a lot of like pressure on it, to write good music, and whereas like motorcycling isn't my career, it's just fun.
It's your life now. I was going to say it's not even a hobby, mate. And I know you can already sense it. It's your life, and it's just. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like the smells that you've just talked about, the smells of the bike, getting to know the engine, the feeling it gives you. No two rides are ever the same. Biking, I'll say it's magical. It is.
So what are the rides that you guys have done that you would recommend, or like some of the best rides you've done?
It's funny you ask that, because Prutz will sum up at the end with a beautiful question, which will take you right there. But for me, I mean, Prutz has done quite a few tours. I would say I'm a fair weather biker, because my bike's so difficult to ride really in the winter. So I just like going on. I can't pinpoint an exact road I used to live in the Midlands, and I used to ride sports bikes. But what I used to love about that is just not even planning a route. I'll just say to myself, I've got a few hours. I'm just going to go out wherever the bike takes me. And I would literally feel the road, feel the bike. And I go, blooming hell, I've ended up in Buxton or wherever I've gone to. And I just think the beauty about a bike, it's not like a car where you use your car as transport. I've got to get from A to B. I've got to be somewhere. With a bike, when I ride a bike, I haven't got to go anywhere. I'm not necessarily using it to commute anywhere. I'm using it for pleasure, and I'm just going for a ride. So I think any ride is a special ride for different reasons, if that makes sense.
It does, mate. It makes perfect sense. I mean, I've had the chance, Dougie, to do quite a lot of ones that I would have loved to have done. I did Pacific Coast Highway a very long time ago on a Harley, which was amazing. And given your musical heritage and love and vocation for it, I mean, you start off you can do it one way, you can go top to bottom or bottom to top. You can start off in Hollywood and end up in San Francisco. You can start in San Francisco and end up in Mexico. It's an amazing place to do it. You mentioned Morocco, which to my very northern sensibilities is the closest far away place that you can think of. Managed to get down on a bike down there, which again was just literally, as you move from continent to continent, it does completely change. Customs change, people change, the sights and the smells. It was amazing what you were saying there, because it is literally that thing of being right in the middle of it. A car, you just have kind of, you bypass through, whereas a bike, you can smell the spring, you can smell the rain when it's on its way, you can think, oh, it's going to get a bit wet and a bit cold in a minute. But those kind of transcendental times when you almost kind of forget that you're riding it, but because your brain works in that way of knowing what your left hand needs to do, what your right hand needs to do, what your left foot and your right foot needs to do, it's an amazing thing to be able to get totally lost in. But what you're saying there, without sounding like a boring old biker, is and you say about coming to it a bit later and wishing you'd started it early. It's like when someone talks to you about or just discovering music, you're talking about things where I'm just rubbing my hands together for you, thinking, mate, you've got so many amazing things coming your way that you haven't even kind of thought about yet. And you'll get there and you'll be, oh, it's amazing. We could go there, boys. We could do this. We could stay there. We can look at that bike. We can have that helmet, have that jacket, everything to do with it. The whole wraparound thing. I'm just so giddy for what you've got coming up for the rest of your life.
Yeah, me too. You know when you see a friend excel, whether it's in business or they might score a goal, and you're genuinely happy for them. Hearing you today on our podcast, like I've been smiling inside the whole time, because you remind me of a young me when I passed my test at 17 or whatever, and I never knew then the journey I would have, pardon the pun, over the years with motorbikes and the relationship I would have. But you're still a young man, but it's lovely to see your enthusiasm, and I'm genuinely excited for you, knowing you've said you want to go to Morocco. You know, you and Danny have planned buying these kit, and you're going to a new bike come in, and you're going to have a whale of a time. You're going to meet some really cool people, and you're going to have, in years to come, you're going to have some amazing stories to tell people through the world of biking. And I genuinely am really happy for you, because it's like you're talking to someone who you like and you admire, and they've just discovered something for the first time, and you're excited like I was 30 years ago. It's mega. I love it. More than 30 years ago, but yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I'm so stoked. You mentioned the Pacific Highway.
Yeah,
Um,
amazing.
where did you go? Did you because I've been to Bikesure.
Yeah, beautiful through there. Yeah.
Did you ride through there?
Yes. So what I picked up the bike in LA, so it's quite. I'm trying to think. It's not too far from LAX, and then headed up to. So did kind of Venice, Santa Barbara, Big Sur, Santa Cruz, all the way up there, Carmel, all the way up to all around Pebble Beach, then up to San Francisco, then kind of hung a right at San Francisco and headed inland towards Vegas. So went through Death Valley on a bike in the middle of summer.
Wow.
Which is really hot. So if you're thinking of doing that, get vented gear, mate, because it's absolutely boiling, as you can understand. And then rolled into, ended up in Las Vegas, and because it was the company that I use, very, very good, well-known company over there, that you can pick it up in one place, drop it off at another. So I rode it to Vegas, dropped it off in Vegas, that was it done, and it was just phenomenal. So you see the history and heritage of a country that we all know, and again, with the music aspect of it, West Coast rock and roll is something that I've loved for such a long time, and retracing some of those steps and seeing those types of places, the venues and all that type of stuff. It was just wonderful, mate. And it's like I said, I mean, tragically, you look at what's happened over there in recent weeks, and I've got a feeling that a lot of that kind of Malibu area and the Palisades and all that will be a very, very different place to visit in this day and age. And hopefully, God bless them all, that all gets better very soon. But the history and the heritage of somewhere like that mixed in with biking is just phenomenal. And as you said about yesterday, it feeling like spring and a bit of sunshine. More often than not, you get the weather over there instead of kind of crawling on the M1, absolutely pissing it down.
Yeah, but that the landscape in the States, especially the whole of America really is incredible. But that part in particular, like Big Sur, I was absolutely blown away by. So I would love to ride through it, because we rented a car and drove through a lot of it. But it was, I mean, they filmed The Lost World there, Jurassic Park, didn't they? So it literally is like being in a movie set. You've got this amazing coast on one side with like beaches and seals and otters and stuff swimming about, and then on the other side, giant sequoias that you used to be able to drive through one of them. That was so big. Like this woodland that looks like it's straight out of a movie.
It's Star Wars territory, isn't it? If you the Jedi back at without us getting really nerdy, I'm sure they filmed a lot of that up in kind of Northern California, where, like you said, huge trees are, and it really does give it that otherworldly feel to it. I mean, it's intriguing to hear you say this, because as Iwan said, it does dovetail into what our final question is on this podcast, which is along the lines of what you can imagine, really, of the most idyllic bike ride. So it's your fantasy ride, and we want to know where you're going to go, who you're going to go with, what you're going to be riding, and what soundtrack you're going to have. But you've already sown a couple of seeds there, Dougie, of what
I think we know where he's going. I think I know what bike he's riding. I think you know who's going with him. I just don't know if you're listening to your own music or someone else's.
Only my own music. Yeah,
strictly my own music.
Well, actually, I when I was hanging out at Mutt, there's people like instructors coming and going, and everybody's bringing their own bikes, and someone had a really big touring bike. I forget what it was, but he let us have a go in the car park, and it was like being on a horse. And even just like, it didn't really like get it up to speed or anything, because it's a car park, but it was the first time riding something with a windshield.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like you could ride this for hours, and not feel the wind, like just creating that bubble around you. So, and I'm a massive fan of the Long Way TV show as well, and they always do, obviously, their rides on really big touring bikes. So I'd like to do a trip on one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, a big BMW or something, or Triumph. I'd like to do that, but I would also like to do a very cruisy trip on the Bonneville. Old school, like what's the guy's name who wrote that?
Ted Simon, Jupiter's Travels.
Yes. Yeah. How do you know I was going to say that?
His was a Triumph, wasn't it? I mean, he went around the world, didn't he? That's the benchmark, really, for kind of him and Elspeth Beard. I mean, she was on an old BMW, but they're the benchmark of that 60s and 70s round the world travel. That just sounds crazy, doesn't it?
I know.
Where would you be going then? Would it be Morocco? You mentioned Morocco. You want to ride there? Would that be the dream ride? You think on the comfortable touring bike?
I don't know if it's the dream ride. It's just something I've got in my head. I'm like, okay, that seems pretty doable. Just go straight down.
Yeah.
But I like the challenge of like going maybe through, like trying to get to Japan or something. Whoa. Like something mad.
That's different.
I don't know. Just because that's like,
mad,
the other side of the world, and to get there, I'm assuming is going to be really, really difficult. But that would be the dream, right? Like something that's seems impossible.
Mm-hmm. That's a dream. But who is with you in this dream, and what are you listening to? Because that's what I want to know. It's got to be Danny, innit? I think on the tour.
Yeah, it would take Danny and Tom, because they're both into it. Danny, Tom. And Dave, our videographer, absolutely loves it as well, and he's got all the camera gear. So, there's
a show in there somewhere, mate. You know it. I know you're thinking. There's a team. And what
music.
am I listening to?
Yeah,
music. Probably Van Halen 5150.
You sound like you've been biking all your life already, mate. You're there. You may be a newbie, but you're not. It was destiny. You were always going to be a biker.
It does sound. I mean, it's wonderful to listen to, and again, I just love that element, Dougie, of once the full license is there, the world's your oyster. There's no boundaries. That's literally how you're approaching it, and I've got so much time and love and admiration for it. But sadly, I mean, that's about it for this week's Full Chat, which is powered by Bikesure. Get in touch, Dougie. As the UK's largest independent motorcycle insurance broker, Bikesure will tailor a quote to your exact needs and help save you money on your annual bike, scooter, or moped insurance, and so much more.
It truly has been an absolute joy. Thank you to our special guest today. Dougie, you have been amazing. Thanks, Dougie.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
An absolute pleasure. Don't forget to press the subscribe button on YouTube so you never miss an episode or get the chance to see Dougie, or press the follow button on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.